coal. I know a lot of people who say, don't worry about the future. We have huge supplies of coal. We have 250 years of coal at current use rates. Be very careful. Calibrate what people say when they tell you at current use rates. Now, if we had 250 years of coal, and we don't, I'll come to that in a moment, but if we had 250 years of coal at current use rates, if you increase that use only 2%, that's not much. We'll have to do more than that. But if you increase it only 2%, it shrinks to 85 years. The power of compound growth. And if you use some of the energy from coal to make it a gas or a liquid, because you can't put coal in the trunk of your car and go down the road, it now shrinks to 50 years. And one other observation, we have no alternative but to share it with the world. Let me tell you why. Because if we get oil from coal, we're then not buying some Saudi oil, which somebody else can buy. So it has the exact effect of sharing it with the world. That is inescapable. There is no way to avoid that. So now that 50 years, since we use a fourth of the world's supply, and that 250 years was at current use rates for us in this country, not the whole world. Now that 50 years divided by 4 shrinks to 12 and a half years. So if we had 250 years of coal, and we increased its use only 2%, converted it to a gas or a liquid, and shared it with the world, and we have no alternative, it'll last 12 and a half years. But the National Academy of Sciences says we haven't looked at the coal reserves since the 1970s, and they believe there's more like 100 years at current use rates. So that 85 years and 50 years now shrink to something roughly half of that. And the 12 and a half years sharing it with the world may shrink to something like 5 or 6 or so years sharing it with the world. The coal is there. It is huge. But our use of energy in the world is huge, huge. 88 million barrels a day. Each barrel having the energy equivalent of 12 people working all year. That's an incredible amount of energy. Just look at the road you travel home on tonight and see the cars there, and that's replicated 1,000 times in our country and thousands of times around the world. I was in Beijing a little while ago, and they banned bicycles in parts of Beijing. There's no room for them, so many cars on the road. I was late to an appointment in Beijing because of traffic jams, late to an appointment in Moscow because of traffic jams there. I was there in '73, and the streets were almost devoid of cars. You saw a military vehicle now, and then that's all you saw then. A whole different world now. Well, there's nuclear, and we now get 8% of our total energy, almost 20% of our electricity from nuclear. That could and probably should grow. But the nuclear we're now using, which is light water reactors using fissionable uranium, is limited because there is a limited supply of fissionable uranium. That won't last forever. There are breeder reactors. Nobody uses them for energy production. There are breeder reactors, as the name implies, make more fuel than they use. You buy some problems with those, like you have to enrich the fuel, and it's weapons-grade stuff, and you have to move it around, and there's challenges for terrorists getting in and so forth, but you get energy from it. Then there is the only silver bullet that gets us home free, and that is nuclear fusion. I happily vote for the roughly $250 million a year that we spend developing that. We're joining with other countries in helping to develop that. I think the probability is low that we will ever be able to exploit that on a commercial scale. Now, if you're sanguine, believing that we're going to solve our energy problem with nuclear fusion, you probably think you can solve your personal financial problem by winning the lottery. You might do it, but the odds of you solving your personal financial problem by winning the lottery, I think, are about the same as us solving our energy problems through fusion. But because it is such an incredible source, the only thing that gets us home free, I happily support. I'd support more money if we had more skilled people out there who could be looking at this. Well, the next big bubble that we're talking about now is is biomass. And I would caution, how much more energy do you think we can get from wastelands out there that aren't good enough to grow corn and soybeans on than we could get from all of our corn and all of our soybeans? I'd like to take the last couple of minutes to note a couple of things that we have been doing. I have a bill, the Self-Powered Farm Bill, and this was going to give a prize to the farm, the first farm that can be totally energy independent. If our farms can't be energy independent, we're really in trouble, aren't we? The next chart. The next chart is a bill that I think is a bill, the Drive Act, that will encourage the development of vehicles that are more efficient, that are flex fuel, that can use any fuel, not corn ethanol, but any of the alternative fuels. I'd just like to note that I find this whole challenge exhilarating. There's no exhilaration like meeting and overcoming a huge challenge. I spent some time going over these potential realistic expectations. There's no silver bullet out there. It's going to be a little of this and a little of that, but America is very good at that. What we need in this country is a program that has the total commitment of World War II. I lived through that war. I'll be 82 years old my next birthday, about 6 weeks from now. I lived through that war. We need the technology commitment that we had when we put a man on the moon, that focus, and we need the urgency of the Manhattan Project. And I think that Americans are up to this challenge. I think we can lead the world in developing the technology to take us away from the fossil fuels to these other sources of energy. The next chart I've already gone through, so let's put the next one up. Let's skip these two and put the last one up. I will indulge for just a moment with the last chart. This chart. Okay, this is a great one to end on. And what this says, Mr. Speaker, is this is the chart that shows how satisfied you are with life and how much energy you use. There are 22 countries, some of them using half the energy we use, that are happier with life than we are. There's lots and lots of opportunities out there to live really well using less energy, and that's our challenge, and with proper leadership, America is up to it. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I yield back.
Gentleman's time has expired. The chair lays before the House a message from the President.
To the Congress of the United States, in accordance with Section 502 F1B of the Trade Act of 1974, I am providing notification of my intent to add the Solomon Islands to the list of least developed beneficiary developing countries under the Generalized System of Preferences Program. In Executive Order 12302 of April 1, 1981, the Solomon Islands was designated as a beneficiary developing country for purposes of the GSP program. After considering the criteria set forth in sections 501 and 502 of the Act, I have determined that it is appropriate to extend least developed beneficiary developing country benefits to the Solomon Islands. Signed, George W. Bush, the White House, April 17, 2008.
I referred to the Committee on Ways and Means and ordered printed. The chair will entertain a motion for adjournment.
We can now adjourn.
The question is on the motion to adjourn. Those in favor say aye. Question is on the motion to adjourn. Those in favor say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The motion is agreed to. Accordingly, the House stands adjourned until 9 a.m. tomorrow.